With the joys of the internet giving out a fire hose of information these days, when it comes to actually improving our Olympic weightlifting, it's very easy for us to get caught up and end up following some Frankenstein creation of a program that's silently killing our progress. Alongside that, I find many lifters are warming up too long, jumping into heavy sets too quickly, or burying their technical work behind work that pre-fatigues them. Then they wonder why their lifts aren't improving. Here's the fix. In this video, I'm going to show you how to structure a simple 90-minute Olympic weightlifting session so your technique improves, your strength builds without burning out, and so you don't have to spend 3 hours in the gym trying to finish a long-winded program filled with junk volume. And for those that don't have a program at all but want to improve on their Olympic lifting technique, I actually have a free 4-week technical intensive program linked at the top of the description. And it's not only a program, but it actually has educational content within each training session and exercise, so you can gain knowledge on why I program what I do for my athletes all around the world. Now, every training session on average should follow through this same progression: skill, strength, fatigue. And that order is everything. Flip it and you might find yourself running to the ground or ending up lowering the quality of your technical work. Here's the session structure: warm up, technical skill work, technical main work, strength, accessories. 5 blocks, 90 minutes. Let's run through exactly how each one of these works. The warm up, which should approximately take roughly 10 to 15 minutes max. The goal here is simple: prepare, don't fatigue. You want light general movement, dynamic mobility work which works within the positions you're going to need for the session to follow. Then you can jump on the barbell and begin to ramp up. That's it. Simply raising your body temperature is what we want here. And the way that we do that can differ from person to person. For some, 5 to 10 minutes casually on the bike works just fine. And for others, some light barbell work is fine too. I genuinely wouldn't overthink this part. I, once upon a time, years ago now, would warm up for over an hour. Specific stretching sequencing, activation protocols, core work, the full circus. And I did this because I thought I was being thorough, but what I was actually doing was just wasting energy and time for the session that I had ahead. Don't make that mistake. Get in, warm up, move on. Now onto some technical priming work, which only needs to take roughly 10 minutes, and I would say this is optional. This is particularly most useful with beginners or those that are struggling with a specific technical element. Now before you load the bar up for your heavier technical work, you may need to prime the specific movement patterns in a means that you're just about to train in the main lifts to follow. This isn't more warm up, it's more of a targeted rehearsal. Grooving positions and sequencing at lightweight, so when the load goes up, your nervous system and body knows exactly where to go because you've done this leading up to it. Some examples: some tall snatches, cleans or jerks, some muscle snatch, some snatch balance, some SOTS press, some pause positional work, or even some no feet variations. This all is of course individual and program dependent, depending on what your specific weaknesses are or what technical work you have for the day, and all in all what weaknesses you want to attend to. Let's say you're having some real trouble maintaining balance in the first and second pull of your snatches lately, and you have a heavy snatch day on the card. I'd potentially throw in just a couple sets of light pause snatches just above the knee at 70%, where you can dial this specific position in, making sure you're maintaining that balance. Then you can move into loading that heavier technical work. These primers are lightweight but precise. Now, onto the main technical work. Now this is of course the main Olympic lifts and their specific loaded variations. Full and power snatches, full and power cleans, jerks, and also their variations. You are ideally your freshest here. Your nervous system is essentially primed, and this is exactly why skill work generally comes before strength, except in some specific circumstances that I'll mention at the end of the video. You want your best quality technical work here when you're at your sharpest, not when you're already beaten up from squats and strength work prior. Now 2 technical exercises here is plenty. 3 to 5 quality sets on each. On a heavier strength day for efficiency and prioritization's sake, 1 technical movement is fine also. Otherwise, the session may drag on and the fatigue may creep up, which will then take away from that strength work later in the session. Also, something else that I program for my athletes is allocating movements as either heavy or not heavy. And these both have different volume and intensity prescriptions. Essentially, if something is heavy, I generally allow room to exceed the prescription on a good day. When it's programmed as not heavy, which is generally one of the 2 technical exercises programmed for priority's sake, where that not heavy movement, the priority here is quality. not maximal load. Now, this segment of the training session may take between 30 to 45 minutes depending. Now, moving on to the strength work. This, of course, is where we build the engine behind the Olympic lifts. Now, your main strength movements here are obviously your squats, your pulls, your deadlifts, and perhaps even a push press. The volume and the intensity here obviously will depend on where you are in the training block, but 1 to 2 strength exercises per session is all you need, where what we push here will depend on what we did earlier in the session and what our current goals are. Now, you won't need a squat and a pull every single session. Often it's one or the other, and that's completely fine. This isn't the place to get overly creative. Pick the movement, do the work, which should take roughly 30 minutes or so, and move on. Now, onto the home stretch of the session, which is the accessories, which should only take roughly 15 to 20 minutes or so. Essentially, lower specificity but higher fatigue tolerance. Some examples, some RDLs, rows, core work, some single leg work, or perhaps even some plyometric work. This is where you address your personal weaknesses and fill in those gaps that the rest of the program doesn't exactly cover. And honestly, if you want to throw in some work that you genuinely enjoy, even if it's not cohesive with a weightlifting program, I would recommend throwing it in. We don't need to train like we're in the old Bulgarian system where we just do a snatch, clean and jerk, squat, pull and leave. If you like doing something in the gym that's not even conducive to the Olympic lifts, but it genuinely fires you up to get the training, I would recommend doing it. Now let's talk about some common mistakes and some considerations. As of course, all of the above isn't a hard and fast rule without any exceptions. Let's start with some mistakes lifters can make here. The first mistake is jumping into your heavy sets too fast, which means not scaling up in weight properly or taking too big of a jump at your top sets and missing lifts because of it. And this doesn't just cost you reps, it trains you to expect failure at heavier loads and can kill confidence in some lifters. Scale properly and earn your top sets. Another mistake is overdoing accessories. Now, this usually comes from absorbing too much nonsense in social media. Accessories I consider as the finishing touch, not the main event. 1 to 3 accessories per session is all you need. If you're spending 45 minutes doing accessories, then your priorities are elsewhere. Third mistake is performing a warm-up that is so long and so draining that you're already half fatigued by the time you even get to start the training session. Your warm-up should leave you ready. If it leaves you tired, then it wasn't a warm-up. Now, one consideration which has to do with sequencing. If you're someone at this time who is prioritizing strength, as something I have done with certain lifters, is actually putting the strength work before the technicals. Now, this strategy isn't for everyone and requires some resiliency to be able to cope with the session's demands. So I wouldn't expect or recommend super heavy technicals afterwards, but there are certainly exceptions where this is plausible and for some needed to end up boosting that strength. So, to recap, warm up, prime the technical movement, your main technical work, strength, accessories. Skill first, strength second, fatigue last. You don't need 4 hours in the gym to make progress. You need a smart 90 minutes. A program that's built with intention and the discipline and sustainability to be able to follow this program consistently. Go in there, train well, go eat enough protein, sleep well, and go live your life without having to be in the gym for 4 hours at a time. Now, if you need some structure already mapped out for you, as I said at the start of the video, I've got a free 4-week technical intensive program that's linked at the top of the description. And if you want eyes on your lifting, personal feedback, and coaching built around making you technically a better weightlifter and addressing those weaknesses, that's exactly what we do inside my Raising Minimums team. I'll leave a link below.